The courtroom smelled like polished wood and finality. Elena sat still, her palms flat on the cold table, nails biting into her skin. Across from her, Adrian Blackwood, her husband for 3 years, her mistake for 2, looked as though this divorce were another item on his morning schedule. He wore his indifference like a custom-tailored suit. She wore her heartbreak like armor. The judge's voice droned on, words like settlement, custody, agreement echoing in a fog. Adrian's lawyer slid a crisp folder across the table. Inside was the deal, the one that had ripped the last shred of illusion from her. $10 million in alimony. On the condition that she bore his child. It was business to him. Everything always was. Elena's lips twisted. Even your goodbye comes with a price tag, Adrian. He didn't flinch. I don't make deals without returns. She laughed, soft, bitter, dangerous. You're unbelievable. I'm efficient, he said. You get financial security. I get my heir. We both move on. His voice was too calm, too rehearsed. But she'd once loved that composure, the way he could command a room with a single word. Now it only made her want to throw something. When the judge banged the gavel, the marriage that had once made her the envy of half the city ended with a hollow thud. The night she left the Blackwood mansion, it rained like the sky was punishing her for loving him. She packed her hospital bag herself. No servants, no family, no one to see the tears that blurred her vision as she climbed into the cab. By dawn, she was a mother. 2 cries pierced the sterile white of the delivery room, one strong, one fragile. The doctor smiled. Twins. A boy and a girl. Elena's heart cracked open. She touched their tiny fingers, whispered their names, Ethan and Emma, and for a moment, she almost believed love could survive the ruin. Then the door opened. Adrian stood there, a storm in a 3-piece suit. His gaze softened, barely, at the sight of the boy. Not the girl. Never the girl. I'll take him, he said. Elena froze. What? My son. He'll be raised as a Blackwood. And Emma, she demanded, clutching the baby girl to her chest. She's not in the agreement. Her world tilted. She's your daughter too. He didn't answer. He just looked at Ethan like he was a crown, and Emma like she was a footnote. That was the moment Elena stopped begging. She watched as he walked out of the room with half her heart in his arms. She thought she'd never forgive him. She was right, for a while. 5 years later. Elena wiped a streak of flour off her cheek and adjusted the hem of her daughter's school uniform. Emma was twirling near the bakery counter, humming a song she'd picked up from cartoons. You're going to make us late again, Elena teased. Emma grinned, same dark eyes as her father, but softer somehow. You always say that, Mommy, and we're always fine. Elena chuckled. You're 5 going on 40. They stepped out into the sunlight. The air was lighter here, far from the cold marble world of the Blackwoods. Elena had built her own small business, designing and baking luxury desserts for elite clients who didn't know the woman behind the counter once dined at their tables. Freedom had a taste, bittersweet, like her best-selling dark chocolate truffles. Mommy? Emma tugged at her sleeve. Will Daddy ever come get us? The words hit her like glass underfoot. You mean, get you, Elena said softly. He doesn't know about us, remember? Emma pouted. Maybe he will one day. Elena smiled, but her throat burned. Maybe, sweetheart. But if he does, we'll be ready. Across the city, Adrian stared at a photograph on his desk, a boy with his eyes and a smile that didn't belong to him. Ethan. His heir. His son. The child was growing colder by the day, mirroring the father he barely saw. Adrian had everything, wealth, power, the respect of men who would kneel to his command. And yet, every time he saw Ethan's empty stare, something inside him twisted. He'd built an empire, but the silence in his penthouse was deafening. Then, one morning, his assistant rushed in. Sir, the client for your next event, Blackwood Group's gala, chose a new catering partner. A small firm called Emma's Atelier. Adrian's pen paused mid-signature. Emma. A name like a ghost from a life he'd buried. He leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing. Find out who owns it. That night, as Elena delivered the final touches to the gala's dessert table, the ballroom lights shimmered around her, gold chandeliers, laughter, and too many memories. She didn't notice him at first. Not until she heard that voice behind her. Still making things look sweeter than they are? Her hand froze over a cake stand. Slowly, she turned. Adrian Blackwood stood there, older, sharper, regret carved into the corners of his eyes. For a heartbeat, time forgot to move. Then she smiled, slow, dangerous. I see the devil still knows my name. He smirked faintly. And I see you're still not afraid of him. Afraid? She lifted her chin. No. But I do charge extra for haunting old clients. His gaze flicked to the logo on her apron. Emma's Atelier. His voice dropped. Emma? The silence stretched between them, heavy and fragile. Elena's lips curved, just enough to break him. Our daughter. Adrian's composure shattered, just a flicker, but enough to show her what she needed. He looked like a man who'd just realized he'd lost far more than he ever meant to trade. For a man who'd once commanded markets and broken rivals without blinking, Adrian Blackwood looked unsteady. Elena could see it, the tension in his jaw, the way his hand hovered slightly before tucking into his pocket. He was calculating, but this time, the numbers weren't lining up. She turned back to the dessert table, her voice cool. You should try the raspberry tarts. They're sweet enough to make even your conscience flinch. Elena. Don't. She didn't look at him. You lost the right to say my name the day you walked out of that hospital. He exhaled, slow and heavy. I didn't know. Her laugh cracked the air like glass. Didn't know what? That you left me bleeding, holding a baby you never asked about? He flinched. A small victory. Elena, he tried again, quieter this time, I thought there was only one child. Because that's what you wanted to believe. She faced him now, eyes sharp as broken diamonds. You were so busy claiming your heir, you didn't notice the daughter crying in my arms. For a heartbeat, he said nothing. Then his voice dropped, low and rough. Where is she? Sleeping, hopefully. Unlike her father, she has a heart. He almost smiled, a ghost of what he used to be before ambition hollowed him out. Still cruel. Still standing, she corrected. That's more than you expected. The gala was a blur of murmurs and champagne. Elena tried to focus on her work, but she could feel his gaze like static against her skin. Every time she reached for a tray, every time she brushed a strand of hair back, his eyes followed. When the night finally ended, she packed her utensils and headed for the back door. She should have known he'd be waiting. Adrian leaned against his car, sleeves rolled, tie undone, an image that used to unravel her. Once. Not anymore. Are you following me now? She asked. He stepped closer. You're impossible to ignore. Then try harder. Elena. His tone softened, disarming. Please. I just want to see her. She crossed her arms. And do what? Sign another contract? Buy her affection? She doesn't need your money. I don't want to buy anything this time. Her brow arched. You always want something. He hesitated, then said quietly, I want to know what I threw away. That flicker of honesty, it shouldn't have mattered. But something in his eyes stopped her from walking off. Guilt had finally settled there, heavy and real. An hour later, Elena stood at her apartment door, debating whether she'd lost her mind. 5 minutes, she said firmly. You see her, you leave. No questions, no explanations. Adrian nodded. 5 minutes. Inside, the space was small but warm, walls painted soft cream, toys scattered across the floor, the faint scent of vanilla and sugar lingering from the bakery. For the first time, Adrian didn't fit into the world he entered. His polished shoes looked foreign on her worn rug. His expensive watch didn't belong near crayons and picture books. Emma stirred in her sleep, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Adrian froze, staring like he was seeing light for the first time. "She looks like you," he whispered. Elena's throat tightened. "She's stronger than both of us." He knelt beside the bed, his hand hovering an inch above the little girl's curls. "She's beautiful." His voice cracked. "God, what have I done?" Elena turned away before he could see the tremor in her eyes. When she looked back, he was still there, still watching the child he didn't know he had. For once, Adrian Blackwood didn't look powerful. He looked human. He didn't leave after 5 minutes. He stayed until the clock ticked past midnight, silent and still. When he finally stood, he met Elena's eyes. "You're right. I don't deserve her. Or you." She didn't respond. "But I'm not walking away again," he added quietly. "Not this time." Elena let out a slow breath, trying not to laugh. "And what? You think showing up changes 5 years of silence?" No, he stepped closer, gaze unwavering. "But it's a start." Her pulse betrayed her. "You don't get to start anything. You already ended it." He studied her face like he was memorizing every line he'd ignored before. "I was wrong. That's the first truthful thing you've said in years. I'll take that as progress." His mouth curved slightly, arrogant, amused, and yet oddly raw. "God, you're insufferable. Always have been." Against her will, a tiny, treacherous smile tugged at her lips. He caught it, of course he did. "There it is," he murmured. "The smile I used to chase." She shook his chest lightly. "Don't push your luck, Blackwood." But he didn't step back. His voice dropped. "I'm not here for luck, Elena. I'm here for you." For her. Her chest tightened. She wanted to say too late, to slam the door and end this before her heart remembered how he once made it race. But when she looked at him, truly looked, she saw a man unraveling, not a CEO commanding. And that terrified her more than his coldness ever had. As he left that night, Adrian paused at the door. "I'll be back tomorrow. I'll bring breakfast." "You don't have to." "I want to." He smiled faintly. "Let me try, Elena. Just once." She folded her arms, pretending indifference. "If you show up with anything that costs more than $20, I'm slamming the door in your face. Then I'll bring pancakes." "From where?" "Me." That earned him a startled laugh. "You? In a kitchen?" He smirked. "I'm not entirely hopeless." "Prove it." He left grinning, and for the first time in 5 years, Elena felt something dangerous stirring again. Elena didn't expect him to actually show up. Yet at exactly 7:30 the next morning, there was a knock, firm, precise, annoyingly punctual. She opened the door to find Adrian Blackwood standing there, sleeves rolled up, a paper bag in one hand and a frying pan in the other. She blinked. "Please tell me that's not from your kitchen." "It is." He looked almost proud. "I made pancakes." She stared. "You cooked." "I watched a tutorial." "God help us," she muttered, stepping aside. "Come in before the neighbors start thinking I'm harboring fugitives." He stepped inside, looking strangely out of place in her modest apartment again, expensive cologne mixing with the smell of flour and coffee. He placed the pan on her tiny stove like it was a business deal. Emma peeked out from her bedroom, hair messy, clutching her rabbit. "Mommy, who's that?" Elena froze. Adrian crouched instantly, his voice soft. "Hi, sweetheart. I'm a friend of your mom's." Emma studied him suspiciously. "You look like the man on Mommy's magazine." Elena's face burned. "Emma." Adrian's lips curved slightly. You read magazines already? Impressive. She nodded solemnly. Mommy says those men are trouble. He coughed. Smart woman. Elena pressed her lips together to hide a smile. Emma eyed the paper bag. What's that? Breakfast, Adrian said. Want to help me serve it? Within minutes, the small kitchen filled with laughter and chaos, Adrian fumbling with syrup bottles, Emma giggling every time he dropped something, and Elena pretending not to enjoy any of it. He'd always been too polished, too perfect. Seeing him now, sleeves dusted with flour, hair slightly mussed, felt wrong. And right. When Emma climbed onto her chair, Adrian placed a pancake in front of her. It was slightly burnt on one side. She poked it with her fork. It's black. He deadpanned, it's called smoky flavor. A chef's secret. Emma giggled so hard she nearly fell off her chair. Elena shook her head, hiding her laughter behind her coffee mug. I'm impressed. You've gone from contracts to culinary disasters. He smirked. Progress, isn't it? Barely. Still counts. The banter rolled easily, too easily. She hated how natural it felt. After breakfast, Emma disappeared to draw in her room, leaving the air between them heavier. Adrian glanced around the apartment, the worn couch, the hand-me-down curtains, the shelf stacked with children's books and baking awards. You built all this alone? Yes, she said flatly. Some of us don't need a corporation to survive. He nodded, guilt flickering across his face. You did more than survive, Elena. You built a life. I can see that. She sighed. Don't romanticize it. It wasn't some fairy tale of independence. It was ugly. Hard. And lonely. He met her eyes. And you still made it. She hated that his voice softened on those words, hated that it made something inside her tremble. I had to, she said quietly. Because you made sure I had no one else. He swallowed hard. You're right. Don't agree with me to look noble. I'm not, he said, voice tight. I'm agreeing because I hate who I was. That silenced her. Adrian's mask cracked for the first time since she'd known him, not the controlled sorrow of a CEO performing remorse, but real regret. I thought control was everything. That losing power meant losing myself. I was wrong. I lost you instead. Her throat tightened. You can't undo it, Adrian. I know. Then stop trying. He hesitated, then smiled faintly. Can't. It's the one thing I've never been good at, letting go of something I finally understand. She rolled her eyes. That's your problem. You think everything can be fixed with persistence. Not everything, he said softly. Just you. Her breath caught. Don't. He stepped closer, his voice low. Tell me you don't feel it too, this thing between us. It's still there, Elena. Buried, maybe, but it's alive. She wanted to deny it. Wanted to throw him out, slam the door, protect the fragile peace she'd built. But his nearness was disarming, the faint scent of him, the warmth in his tone, the way he looked at her like she was something worth chasing again. You're playing with fire, she whispered. He leaned in slightly, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. Then maybe it's time we burn. She froze, heart thundering, mind screaming no while her body remembered every forgotten yes. For a dangerous second, silence pulled them closer. Then Emma's voice came from the hall. Mommy, my rabbit lost his ear. Elena stepped back as if yanked from a spell. Saved by the child, she muttered. Adrian chuckled, low, genuine. She has your timing. Don't get used to it, she warned. Later, when he finally left, Elena stood by the window, watching his car disappear down the street. Her heart was still pounding, and she hated that it was. He'd said he wanted to try. To make up for what he'd done. But redemption wasn't pancakes and apologies. It was proving he wouldn't break her again. Across town, Adrian sat in his car for a long time before starting the engine. His reflection in the rearview mirror didn't look like a CEO. It looked like a man stripped of excuses. He'd spent years building walls so high no one could reach him. Now he wanted nothing more than to tear them down, brick by brick, if it meant seeing Elena smile again. He'd hurt her. Badly. But he'd seen something that morning, the laughter in Emma's eyes, the softness in Elena's, and for the first time, he realized what home might feel like. He wasn't sure he deserved it. But he was damn sure he'd fight for it. Adrian kept showing up. Every morning. At first, Elena thought it was a stunt, a guilty man's phase, a gesture he'd abandon once his pride recovered. But he didn't. He brought breakfast, sometimes edible, sometimes nearly inedible, and somehow always made Emma laugh until milk spilled across the table. He carried grocery bags, fixed squeaky hinges, even repaired the leaky sink with surprising skill. Didn't think a CEO knew how to use a wrench, she'd said once. He'd smirked. I've learned. Turns out guilt's a pretty good teacher. And he kept learning, slowly, awkwardly, but sincerely. Elena didn't trust it. Couldn't. But every time she saw him kneel beside Emma's little chair, patiently helping her tie her shoes or cut her pancakes, that armor she'd built began to thin. That afternoon, Elena was icing a 3-tier cake for a client when Adrian appeared in the doorway of her bakery. No suit today. Just a simple white shirt, sleeves rolled, the faintest trace of exhaustion under his eyes. You've been working all day, he said. Welcome to adulthood, she muttered without looking up. He leaned against the counter. You should take a break. Can't. Deadlines. Clients. Rent. I'll pay you triple whatever this client is offering. She finally looked up, glare sharp enough to cut marble. You're not buying my time, Adrian. He raised his hands in mock surrender. Fair. How about I earn it? By doing what, exactly? He gestured toward the icing bag in her hand. Teach me. Elena stared at him. You? In my kitchen? He smiled faintly. What's the worst that can happen? Explosions. Lawsuits. Frosting fatalities. Then it'll be a day to remember. Despite herself, she laughed. Fine. Apron's there. Don't touch anything sharp. He slipped the apron on backward, looking utterly ridiculous. Like this? She snorted. Close enough. Try not to look so smug while ruining my profession. Adrian stepped beside her, his shoulder brushing hers, a brief, electric contact she tried to ignore. He copied her movements carefully, squeezing icing onto the cake with intense focus. The swirl came out uneven and slightly tragic. Beautiful, she deadpanned. Truly, the art world will weep. He grinned. You're just jealous. Of your lack of skill? Hardly. He dipped his finger into the frosting, tasted it, then nodded approvingly. Sweet. Like you. Elena froze. He met her gaze, teasing but earnest. What? You thought I'd forgotten how to compliment you? I thought you'd forgotten how to mean it. His voice softened. I'm remembering. The silence that followed was heavy, charged. She turned back to the cake, pretending to focus. Don't say things you don't intend to prove. I intend to prove everything, he murmured. And damn him, she believed it, if only for a moment. When they finished, frosting covered more of the counter than the cake. Adrian looked ridiculous, tie splattered, hair slightly disheveled. Emma burst in and gasped dramatically. Daddy, you look like a cupcake. Adrian blinked. Did you just call me Daddy? The word hit the room like lightning. Elena froze mid-breath. Emma giggled, completely unaware of the crack it caused in the air. Mommy says you used to be my daddy before you went far away. Adrian knelt, voice low, trembling just enough to betray him. I did. And I missed a lot. Emma frowned. Then don't go far again. His throat worked. I won't. Elena swallowed hard, turning away before either of them saw her expression. That night, after locking the bakery, she found Adrian still outside, waiting by his car. You could have gone home, she said, adjusting her coat. I didn't want to. Habit of yours, she muttered. He smiled faintly. Not this kind. They stood there for a long moment, the city lights reflecting off rain-damp pavement. It felt like standing on a knife's edge, one move and everything could shatter or start anew. Elena, he said quietly. I can't undo what I did. But I can choose what I do now. She crossed her arms. And what's that? He stepped closer, eyes steady. Stay. Her heart skipped. Stay? With you. With her. Whatever you'll let me have. She tried to scoff, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her. You think showing up for pancakes and cakes erases 5 years of pain? No, he took another step. But maybe it starts healing it. Don't be poetic, Adrian. You're not built for it. He smiled, small and almost sad. Maybe I am now. His hand lifted, slow, uncertain, brushing a strand of hair from her face. She didn't pull back. Couldn't. Tell me to stop, he whispered. She didn't. The air between them thickened, breath against breath, pulse against pulse. Her mind screamed don't, but her body remembered when. Then headlights flashed down the street, breaking the moment. Elena stepped back, inhaling sharply. Go home, Adrian. He nodded once, no argument this time. I'll see you tomorrow. When he drove away, she stood there under the city lights, heart pounding, walls trembling. Maybe he really was learning to stay. But she wasn't sure she was ready to let him. The next few weeks unfolded like a slow unraveling of old ghosts. Adrian kept coming, sometimes with breakfast, sometimes with flowers Emma picked out for him to practice saying sorry. Elena never admitted it aloud, but she started setting out an extra cup on the kitchen table every morning. Emma adored him. The little girl followed him everywhere, asking questions, dragging him into tea parties, demanding piggyback rides until he was breathless. And Adrian, the man who once signed deals worth billions without blinking, now spent hours learning the names of her stuffed animals. Elena watched him from the doorway one afternoon, arms crossed, heart caught in her throat. He was on the floor, wearing a tiara Emma had forced onto his head, solemnly hosting a royal meeting with a row of dolls. She bit back a smile. I should have charged admission. He looked up, eyes warm with laughter. You missed your chance. Sold-out show. Emma giggled. Mommy, Daddy's a princess now. Elena's breath hitched again, that word. Daddy. It rolled off Emma's tongue so naturally now. And for the first time, it didn't sting. It scared her instead. Because it meant her daughter was letting him in, and so was she. But peace never lasted long in Adrian Blackwood's world. 2 days later, the past came knocking, sharp heels, sharper tongue. Elena had just finished closing the bakery when a sleek black car pulled up. From it stepped Clara Vance, Adrian's longtime business partner and, once upon a time, the woman rumored to be his lover. Ms. Hayes, Clara greeted, voice sugar over steel. Still playing house, I see. Elena didn't flinch. Still spreading rumors, I see. Clara's smile didn't reach her eyes. You think this little fairy tale you've built will last? You were just a chapter in his story. I'm the ending. Then you might want to check your book again, Elena said coolly. He seems to be reading a different one lately. Clara's expression darkened. You think a man like Adrian changes? He's using you again. He always does. Elena felt the words hit, old wounds reopening, but she stood her ground. Then let him. At least this time, I'll see it coming. Clara's eyes glinted. He's not telling you everything. He never does. Before Elena could reply, Clara's phone buzzed. She gave a sly smirk. Oh, look who's calling now. Elena's stomach twisted as Clara held up the screen, Adrian Blackwood. That night, Elena sat in her dim kitchen, her phone untouched beside her. She told herself not to care, not to wonder what he and Clara still had between them. But the thoughts clawed their way in anyway. When a knock came at the door, she almost didn't answer. Adrian stood there, rain-soaked, his usual composure slipping. "You weren't answering my calls." "Busy," she said. "You should be too. Clara's probably waiting." He frowned. "Clara?" She stopped by. Her voice was like glass. "She said you called her." "I did. About work." "Of course. Business. Always business." "Elena." "No," she stepped back, arms crossed. "You don't get to make me feel stupid twice." He dragged a hand through his wet hair, frustration flashing. "I told you the truth. You told me the truth once before, remember? Right before you took my son." That hit harder than she meant it to. The silence between them cracked open again. "I deserved that," he said quietly. "But don't think for a second Clara means anything to me now. She's part of my company, not my life. You said that once about me too." He flinched. "Elena." She turned away. "Go home, Adrian." He didn't. He just stood there, drenched, shoulders heavy, until she finally whispered, "Please." Then he left. The next morning, the empty chair at her kitchen table hurt more than she wanted to admit. Emma noticed too. "Mommy, where's Daddy?" Elena forced a smile. "He's busy today, baby." Emma's face fell. "Did he go far away again?" The words twisted like a knife. "No, sweetheart. Just, not today." Across the city, Adrian sat behind his office desk, ignoring the mountain of paperwork. Clara was standing across from him, smirking as if she'd already won. "You can't mix business with your emotional baggage," she said. "You're slipping, Adrian. And that woman is the reason." He looked up slowly, eyes cold. "Be careful, Clara. That woman happens to be the mother of my children." She tilted her head. "And the reason you're bored is whispering about your judgment. You've gone soft." He stood abruptly, voice like thunder. "You mistake softness for strength." She made me remember what matters. "Love doesn't keep empires running," Clara snapped. "No," he said, grabbing his coat, "but it's the only thing that makes them worth running." He left her speechless for once. That evening, Elena found him outside her bakery again. No umbrella this time. Just him, standing there like the rain didn't matter. She opened the door, exasperated. "You'll catch pneumonia. Better than losing you again." She sighed, rubbing her temples. "You're impossible." "Persistent," he corrected. He stepped closer, rain dripping from his hair, eyes steady. "You can hate me. You can doubt me. But don't ever think I'm walking back to her. You're the only one I'm walking toward." Her pulse jumped. "You say that now." He cut her off, his voice low, raw. "Then tell me what to do to prove it." Elena stared at him, this man who once used contracts to control everything, now begging for something he couldn't negotiate. "Start by staying," she said softly. "Even when it gets messy." "I can do messy." She arched a brow. "You couldn't handle spilled coffee 5 years ago." He smiled faintly. "Then I'll learn." For the first time that night, she didn't tell him to leave. And when he reached out, cautiously, as though afraid she might break, she didn't step back. The bakery's warmth bled into the night, its golden light spilling onto wet cobblestones. Elena leaned against the counter, watching Adrian mop the floor like a man on trial. He'd insisted, again, that she let him help close up. He looked so out of place. The CEO of Blackwood Enterprises, sleeves rolled up, tie gone, streak of flour across his wrist. Yet he didn't complain. Not once. Who knew the mighty Adrian Blackwood could handle a mop, she muttered. He looked up, a faint smile tugging at his mouth. Who knew Elena Hayes would let me near one? Don't flatter yourself. He chuckled, low and soft, the sound curling into her chest. But her walls didn't fall, not yet. You still think I'm going to leave, he said after a moment. Not a question. I know you will. He set the mop aside, leaning against the counter across from her. Then tell me what it would take for you to believe otherwise. Don't say things you don't mean, Adrian. I never stopped meaning them. She exhaled sharply, fighting the tremor in her voice. You don't get to rewrite the past. You left me when I needed you most. You let me bury our son alone. He flinched, every word cutting deep. I thought I was protecting you. By walking away? By making sure you could survive without me. Her laugh was hollow. I didn't survive. I learned to pretend I did. Silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating. The scent of coffee lingered. Somewhere outside, thunder rolled. Adrian took a step forward. Elena, I can't change what I did. But I can make sure I never walk away again. Promises, she whispered. You're good at those. He reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out a folded piece of paper, creased, worn, like he'd been carrying it for years. I wrote this when Emma was born. I wanted to send it, but I didn't have the right. Elena hesitated before taking it. Her name, written in his handwriting, made her chest tighten. She unfolded it carefully. It wasn't long, just a few lines. You don't owe me forgiveness. But every breath I take since the day I lost you has been a reminder that love isn't something you abandon. It's something that finds you again, no matter how far you fall. Her throat closed. Why are you showing me this now? Because I'm tired of you hating a ghost, he said quietly. I want you to see the man who came back. Her vision blurred. You think that's enough? No, he said, voice rough. But it's a start. The next morning, the storm had passed, but the city still smelled of rain. Emma skipped around the kitchen, humming, while Adrian tried, unsuccessfully, to flip pancakes. The smoke alarm screamed its judgment. Daddy, they're black. Emma cried, half horrified, half delighted. They're toasted, he corrected. Elena walked in, arms crossed, eyebrow raised. I see you're branching out into arson now. Adrian looked sheepish, waving the spatula like a white flag. In my defense, I followed the instructions. Which you wrote yourself, apparently, she said, turning off the stove. He grinned, surrendering the pan. You know, this domestic chaos is oddly satisfying. Because you get to ruin my kitchen? Because it's ours, he said before he could stop himself. Elena froze. He did too. The word hung in the air, uninvited but heavy with truth. Emma broke the tension by tugging at his sleeve. Daddy, can we make cupcakes next time? He looked down, smiling faintly. If your mom lets me anywhere near the oven again. She won't, Elena muttered, trying to sound annoyed. But her heart was already betraying her. That afternoon, Adrian left for a board meeting. Elena tried to focus on work, but Clara's words from days ago kept echoing. He's not telling you everything. When the bakery door opened and a tall man stepped in, a man in a suit too sharp for this part of town, she knew trouble was about to follow. Elena Hayes? He asked. Yes. He handed her a sealed envelope. From Mr. Blackwood's legal department. Her stomach dropped. What's this? An amendment to the custody agreement, he said. It concerns Emma. Her hands trembled as she tore it open, only to find legal jargon staring back at her. Custody. Guardianship. Temporary transfer of parental rights. Her heart stopped. By the time Adrian arrived that evening, she was waiting for him, papers on the table, fury in her eyes. What the hell is this? She demanded. He looked at the documents and swore under his breath. Elena, listen. No, you listen. After everything, you still go behind my back? I didn't authorize this. Then who did? Clara, he said bitterly. She must have pushed it through the legal team while I was gone. Elena laughed, the sound sharp and disbelieving. Convenient excuse. Damn it, Elena, you think I'd take Emma from you? After what we've been through? She threw the papers at him. You already did once. He caught them midair, jaw tight, eyes burning. I'm not that man anymore. Then prove it, she snapped. Because right now, I don't know who you are. That night, he sat alone in his car outside her house. Rain streaked the windshield again, as if the storm hadn't really left. He didn't go in. Didn't call. Just sat there watching the light flicker in her kitchen window. Inside, Elena paced the floor, heart pounding with anger, fear, confusion. She hated him for making her care. Hated herself more for still believing he might be telling the truth. Upstairs, Emma slept peacefully, completely unaware that the fragile thing her parents were rebuilding was already splintering again. The next morning, Adrian stormed into his headquarters. Clara was waiting in his office, smug and composed. You went too far, he said coldly. I saved you from a disaster, she replied. That child could ruin everything if custody ever becomes public. He slammed his hand on the desk. That child is my daughter. Clara didn't flinch. You're making emotional decisions, Adrian. I'm making strategic ones. He stepped closer, voice like thunder. Effective immediately, you're suspended. Any move against Elena or Emma again, and I'll destroy everything you've built under my name. For the first time, Clara's confidence faltered. You'd throw away years of partnership for her? He didn't blink. For them. By the time he returned to Elena's door, he looked exhausted, tie gone, sleeves rolled up, shadows under his eyes. I fixed it, he said simply. Clara's out. The papers are void. Elena stared at him for a long time. You shouldn't have to keep choosing between us and your empire. He shook his head. There's no choice anymore. Her voice softened, barely above a whisper. What happens when your world burns because of me? He met her gaze, steady and unshaken. Then let it burn. I'll build something new, with you. And for the first time in years, she believed him. Elena didn't want to forgive him. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But the way Adrian had stood in that doorway, soaked from rain and exhaustion, clutching those torn legal papers like a man defending his soul, it cracked something inside her. For days after, he didn't push. Didn't beg. He just showed up. Every morning, he brought coffee for her, strawberry milk for Emma, and silence. The kind that didn't demand or pry. He'd wait at the counter while she worked, sometimes helping customers, sometimes just being there. And Elena realized something terrifying. He wasn't leaving this time. One evening, she closed the bakery late. Adrian was outside, leaning against his car, the city lights slicing shadows across his face. You could go home, you know, she said, flipping the lock. I am home, he murmured. The words hit deeper than they should have. Stop saying things like that, she whispered. Why? Because you might start to believe me? Because I already do. Her voice cracked. She turned away, but he caught her wrist, gently, not to restrain, but to stop her from running. Elena. His tone softened. You told me once love isn't about words. It's about showing up. She exhaled. And now you're showing up. Every damn day, he said. And I'll keep doing it until you stop looking at me like a stranger. Their eyes met, 5 years of anger, love, and unspoken hate colliding in one breath. Then she kissed him. Not gently. Not sweetly. It was anger, grief, and longing all tangled in one desperate motion. He froze for a heartbeat, then his hands found her waist, her back, her hair. It wasn't a kiss for forgiveness, it was for everything they'd lost. When she finally broke away, her chest was heaving. "Don't make me regret this." He touched her cheek, thumb brushing the edge of a tear. "I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you don't." Days turned into a fragile kind of peace. Adrian joined her at the bakery before sunrise. He mixed batter like a disaster, burned muffins with spectacular consistency, and somehow managed to double her orders with a single phone call to his corporate contacts. Blackwood's Bakery, Emma called it proudly one morning, wearing her tiny pink apron. Elena laughed. "Don't give him ideas." Adrian smirked. "Too late. I already trademarked it." "Try that and you'll be trademarking your tombstone," she warned. He chuckled, wiping flour off her cheek with his thumb. "Worth it." It was dangerous, how easy it was to fall back into rhythm with him. The teasing, the warmth, the quiet glances that used to mean everything. But life had a way of testing people the moment they started believing again. That test came 3 weeks later. A breaking news alert flashed across the morning TV. Blackwood Enterprises faces financial scandal. Internal leaks suggest corporate sabotage. Elena froze mid-step. Adrian's jaw clenched as his phone started buzzing relentlessly. He stepped outside to answer the calls, but she could see the storm already forming in his eyes. When he came back, his voice was grim. "Clara's behind it. She sold confidential files to a rival firm. The board's calling for a hearing tomorrow." Elena swallowed hard. "You can fix this." "I can't," he said. "Not if they pin it on me." Her heart dropped. "Adrian. They're already circulating my name in the press. Clara's framing it as if I used company assets to fund the bakery." Her mouth went dry. "What?" He stepped closer. "She's saying I built this place for you with corporate money." "That's insane." "It's believable," he said quietly. "Because I did invest, under my own name, but she'll twist it into something dirty." Elena's pulse raced. "Then what do we do?" "We face it," he said simply. "Together." The next day, the boardroom felt colder than winter. Cameras flashed outside the building. Clara sat across the table, perfectly composed, the faintest smile curling her lips. Adrian stood before them, no suit jacket, no arrogance, just conviction. "I authorized personal transfers from my private holdings," he said. "Not company funds. Check the records. Every penny came from me." Clara scoffed. "You expect them to believe you funded a small-town bakery out of love?" Adrian's gaze was ice. "Yes. Because I did." The room buzzed with whispers. Elena, who had insisted on being there, stepped forward. "And I can confirm that. He never asked for anything in return, except a chance to prove he's not the man he used to be." Clara's mask cracked. "You're letting emotion cloud your judgment." "No," Elena cut in, steady and fierce. "You are. You think power is everything. But the man you tried to ruin already lost everything once. And he's not afraid to lose it again." The silence that followed was suffocating. Then the head of the board cleared his throat. "We've reviewed the financial audit. The funds came from Adrian's private trust. The charges are dismissed." Adrian let out a slow breath. Clara's smirk finally faded as security escorted her out. When the room emptied, he turned to Elena. "You didn't have to speak for me." "I know," she said. "But I wanted to." He smiled faintly. "Guess we both learned how to stay." That night, the three of them sat outside the bakery, watching the sunset bleed into gold and pink. Emma was asleep on Elena's lap, her tiny hand curled around her mother's fingers. Adrian watched them both, quiet for a long time. Then, softly, "Do you ever think we were meant to start over?" Elena smiled faintly. "No. I think we were meant to break first. So we'd know how to rebuild." He reached for her hand. Then let's rebuild everything. The city glowed behind them. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rumbled, but this time, it sounded like a promise, not a warning. Elena leaned her head against his shoulder. You still owe me pancakes, Blackwood. He laughed quietly, pressing a kiss to her hair. Then I guess I'll have to keep showing up until I get them right. Forever's a long time to burn breakfast, she murmured. He smiled, voice low and sure. Then I'll burn it with you. And for once, the sunrise didn't feel like an ending. It felt like home.